What's up, everybody? Today we're checking out the prologue for Kashyyyk Invasion here within Star Wars The Force Unleashed. So we're checking out a new series, a brand new game started here on the channel, Force Unleashed. Get excited because I am very excited. Anyways, you can see a little rundown here. 6 different achievement/trophies. One for Frenzy, Sith Lord Frenzy, Pushed, Bosk, and Invasion. Now we will cover each of those as we go throughout. They're all pretty simple. But anyways, you can see here, this is the epic introduction to Star Wars The Force Unleashed, one of the classic games of the 2000s and 2010s. A very, very nostalgic game for a lot of classic, old school gamers that played a bunch of games growing up. This, I'm sure, is one you played. Maybe you played it on your Wii. By the way, I will just say this is not the Wii version. This is like the Xbox 360. I don't know all the different versions, but I do know that the Wii version does differ from the Xbox version. So just forewarning, this is the Xbox version. Maybe PlayStation is different as well, but this is the Xbox version. We're playing it on the Xbox One, but it's the 360 version. Just so everybody knows. I know there's a bit of difference in the Wii. I don't know fully how everything works. All I know is the Kashyyyk prologue is a bit different. Anyways, to get it started, you saw there, we made our way to that massive door, and you had to use your force push ability. So we're going to use all the technical terms off the bat. If you haven't played this Force Unleashed game before, and this is your first time playing it, if you're following along with us, or you're just here for the ride, welcome. But yeah, force push is holding the B button, and or you can just tap it, and you just send a shockwave of force forwards, sends enemies flying. It's awesome, but you have to hold it down and charge a powerful one to break that door open. Now we're just making our way through the Kashyyyk jungle. We can pick up rocks with the force and throw them at the Wookiees. So yeah, and by the way, I will just bring up the Bosk achievement. So that's one of the 6 achievements we're getting here. The Bosk achievement is for taking out 200 Wookiees in the Kashyyyk level. Now there is a point where they kind of infinitely flow in, so we're going to get it there. We'll have it sped up and have its own little section in the video. But yeah, it's just for taking out 200 of them. Now you do have to do it in one run through of the level, so you can't just keep replaying the level, and you have to get it in one run through. So if you're replaying it 100 times and like, how have I still not gotten it? You have to do it in one playthrough of the Kashyyyk level. And also, you can't reselect the level on a new save file. So when you select the save file, this is like the one area of the game you cannot come back to later. So that's just interesting to note, I guess. But yeah, so even if you get 199 on your playthrough, there's no way you can come back to it on a save file. You have to start a new save file and restart. Now there is also an achievement for taking out, as we get our first achievement for Frenzy, which is one for, I think it's like I don't know, but there's 3 different achievements for like getting a certain combo. Frenzy is one of them. It's the lowest combo. I think it's a ×4 combo, then there's a ×8 combo, and a ×12 combo one, so we do end up getting all of them. But yeah, there is also an achievement you can get here for taking out 20 Stormtroopers. I don't believe that's one of the ones we get. I think we get one for... Yeah, we get the 3 Frenzy ones. We get one for completing the level, one for 200 Wookiees, and then also one for 100 enemies with force push. So that's one of the that's the move I was talking about before, force push, where you just press B and it sends a wave of or an attack of the force forward. You can also lightsaber throw, but force push is the easiest one, and especially when enemies are near an edge, if you force push them off, or force grip, which is where you pick up the enemy and throw them that way, when you're near an edge, it's obviously going to kill them because they can't do anything about falling off a ledge. So when you've got enemies that have that are more powerful and have bigger health bars, definitely would recommend it that way. Anyways, this is where we're going to be getting the Bosk achievement, and we also end up getting pretty much all the rest of our achievements. So the 2 other Frenzy achievements and the one for taking out 100 enemies with force push, because we end up just spamming them here. So you can see there we get Sith Frenzy, and then we take out a couple more. We'll probably get Sith Lord Frenzy here in a sec. Yep, there you go, Sith Lord Frenzy. So we got those Frenzy ones out of the way. This is the best place to do it, honestly, because you kind of have to have a lot of enemies you're attacking at once to get the full Sith Lord Frenzy, which is a ×12 combo. But yeah, anyways, now you can see here we're beginning to just speed this up because it gets a little time consuming. Now, what I will say about this is there is a point in the bridge, in this section, where the enemies will stop spawning in. So once you get to that hut across the way there on the other side of this next bridge, you can see it there in the back. Once you get to that hut, the game saves and then no more Wookiees spawn in. So honestly, I wouldn't even recommend going on the next bridge because I've had instances where the enemies stop kind of spawning in even when you cross about halfway through that bridge. Eventually it'll kind of stop spawning. If you stay on this bridge though, they should infinitely continue to spawn in. You can see that we just got the push achievement for taking out 100 enemies with force push. You can see that's just our kind of go-to here because as soon as you force push them, the Wookiees are super weak, which is something I will add, is they pretty much die from anything. I mean, a bunch of them die from themselves or bullets that other Wookiees shoot at them. So honestly, you should have no trouble killing these guys. But the force push and force grip is great. Force grip is also good because you can pick them up and throw them at other enemies, which just takes out a bunch at once. But you can see here we're slowing it back down or getting it back to normal speed. And you can see that we just got the Bosk achievement. So that's going to wrap it up for 5 of the achievements for this level. And the last one is for Invasion, which I did mention before. It's just for completing the level. So each chapter, you're at least going to get 1 achievement, and that's for completing the level. So that's nice. Or each level, chapter, whatever you want to call it. But anyways, once we get to this next bridge, so we pass through that hut, the Wookiees are going to stop spawning in, so you can't take any more out. That was the last of them. But we make our way here to this grass patch, this little field here out front of this house, and then a mysterious Jedi Knight comes down. And if you played this game, I mean, this should just be, honestly, for me personally, this has just been this is going to be an awesome series. I'm looking forward to it. Our first step into something not Lego related, which is fun, absolutely, and I am looking forward to doing something a little bit different. We're still going to be doing it in a guide format, so of course you know holocrons are the collectibles in this game, so that's what we're going to be focusing on for the videos. But anyways, this boss battle is pretty simple. This is kind of just kind of showing you how to attack and stuff, so you can use all your different force powers. Now, unfortunately, this boss battle is pretty easy because we have all these force abilities. You know, we have lightsaber throw, we have force repulse, where you send a massive shockwave of, you kind of charge it up and you make a massive shockwave, different to the force push. But anyways, we're right at the end of this one, so just keep attacking him, and then eventually his health bar will get to flashing red, and then you do a little button mashing event, and then any second here. So here we go, get to a little button mashing section, and then this is going to be at the end of every boss battle, by the way, this kind of cinematic, but you can't mess this up, so even if you do hit the wrong button, you don't go back into the battle, it just resets you at the beginning of the button mashing section. But just keep spamming the right buttons, and then you're going to eventually push him through the front entrance of his door. That's going to take us into a little cutscene. Now, we've removed all the cutscenes because, you know, we feel like we don't really need to include... Well, so now that we have gotten through that first level, it's actually taken us into this training sequence, which is typically at the end of a level, it will take you into like an kind of total screen like in the Lego games. But because that was the prologue, it's a little bit different. It's taking us into this training section. Now, this is teaching us force grip, which I did briefly mention is where you can pick up enemies and throw them. But you can also pick up objects around the levels. So here we just pick up this little crate and throw it at the glass panels. And then this last one, we have to take out all the stormtroopers. So pretty simple. Just pick it up with your right trigger and then, or right bumper, the back right trigger bumper, whatever it's called. And then once you've done that, that's it for that. But yeah, folks, that's really going to wrap it up for this one. That was a little introduction to Force Unleashed, our new series here. That's going to do it for the Prologue Kashyyyk Invasion. If you found it helpful, enjoyed, a like would certainly be appreciated. Also, feel free to subscribe because we're going to be getting to this series. But until the next one, I'll see you later. See everybody. Bye.